In the last video, we organized our application so that we could take advantage of Angular's deep linking feature. That's going to allow us to pretend like our single page is an entire website. In order to do that, we redefine our controller.js file to handle only the controllers and not the entire application. Now, we need to configure a new module to take care of our application and define how this application handles navigating to different partials. So I'm going to start off by creating a new file here called app.js. It's going to go in the same folder as the rest of my JavaScript files. I'm also going to need to link to it from the index.html document. So right here above controllers, I can add a link to my app.js file. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And what we need to do now is to define the controller that's going to take care of the application. We remove that from the controllers.js file, so we're going to put it now in the apps.js document. We'll create a variable, we'll call it myApp, and we're going to set it to be an Angular module just like before. And this app is called myApp, and then we're going to pass along an array. In this array, we're going to tell Angular that we're using the ng route features that turn on deep linking for us. Then we'll specify the JavaScript that's going to handle this module. That would be artist controllers, and it would match the name in the controllers.js document. Now we need to configure how the partials are going to run. So I'll set up my application again and use this config variable. And the first thing I need to do is tell Angular that I'm going to be using the routeProvider. This is a service much like the HTTP service that we used earlier in the controllers.js file. So now that we call the routeProvider service, we're going to execute a function and pass along that routeProvider service. So let's go ahead and deal with the service, routeProvider. And the first thing we need to do is what's going to happen when somebody gets to a specific partial. This is going to be what happens when somebody navigates to one of the paths in our file. So the first path I want to create is called list. So when the user or the application calls this list parameter, then what I want to do is use a template URL called partials/list.html. And I also want to use the controller called list controller. So this partials/list.html is matching the document that we created inside this partials folder right here. The list controller is the name of the controller in the controllers.js document. Now what we'll do is set up a default of what happens when somebody just goes to the homepage of the website. Here we'll pass along just one parameter, because all I want to do is redirect to this list partial that I created earlier. And it looks like I need to get rid of this parentheses over here. This is one complete thought. So let me go ahead and save this. And I'm going to switch back over to my application. And I'm going to refresh, and it should look exactly the same as it did before. That really was a lot of work for essentially getting our application to work just like before. But if you look at the URL of this application carefully, you'll notice a subtle difference. Notice that after the main index.html page, it has a £, and it's using partials to call this list page. That's happening because of our otherwise method right here. When the page loads, it looks at that index.html file and runs it through the routeProvider service. The routeProvider service makes the page go by default to this list partial, which is loading up not only our main page, but also our partials/list.html template. If you want to learn more about routeProvider, make sure you take a look at the documentation on the AngularJS website.